up, everybody? Welcome to the Trainer Feed. We are your hosts. My name is Angel Sanchez. With me, I have Mr. Jacques Dologer
What's up?
and Mr. David Bravo.
What's up?
On today's episode, what we want to do is we want to cover one of these topics that Jacques Dologer has for us. What do we have?
So, Stanley, rest in peace, he had done a series back in 2010, or a number of series, with superhuman people, superhuman individuals. And one of these... What's up?
Mutants?
Superhuman mutants? God, I'm doing a terrible job. But anyway, he
Man.
went through all these people in the world that had these incredible talents. And one of these guys was this guy that could just keep running to the point where he ran 50 marathons in 50 days. And they were in each of the 50 states of the United States. So... And I did a bit more reading on it recently, but really, in essence, when they do the testing on him, his ATP levels never, which for most humans or almost anyone, even though they're fitter, over time they slowly deplete. For him, they never depleted. So he wasn't even as if he had run out of energy, quite literally. So I want to talk to you guys about how does something like that happen? What would you guys do if you were in those shoes?
I mean, something like that probably happens because of genetics, right? Like it's a mutation, genetic mutation, most likely. And what I would do, I would just keep running. It'd be like Forrest Gump, right? Like just run. Or do whatever, like whatever you choose, I don't know, to do. But it's like, I don't know. Well, David, would you row? Would you run? Would you?
Play sevens?
I'll play sevens.
Wow. Listen, dude, you'd be a sick, like, soccer player. Like, what sports would benefit from that? Sports that don't really have timeouts to break it up.
Lacrosse, soccer, I think rugby, even weightlifting.
Because you don't fatigue in theory.
Yeah.
But you have to be careful because even though he doesn't fatigue, the weakness would be, like, the muscles it would have to be a muscular failure or, like, a tear or something of that sort. And then...
He even there's one report of him running like 3 days straight. He didn't sleep.
But why would he? That's my thing, too.
But see,
Why
he
would
just said he
do
felt
that?
psychotic on the third night because he was
Yeah,
running
'cause
through it.
you
But like, this
have-
guy just didn't start running for 3 days. Quite literally through night.
I've heard some stuff. There was the female runner. I'm forgetting her name, but she's very talented, and she broke a world record for like either 100-miler or something of that sort. But she was speaking about how when you do those runs, you have to almost like
She's a sprinter?
no
Oh.
100 miles, dude.
I thought you meant 100 meters.
Nah. I meant what I said. I said what I meant. But she goes and she does it, and she was talking about how like she would have to get some sleep because if she didn't get sleep, then she would start to actually, the brain would start to go into like whatever it is, psychosis or whatever you call it, and she would hear things or see things that weren't actually there. But that's because you're running for that long, so you're fatiguing your body, but then B, you're not even sleeping. So your brain is just like making things up as you go. And that's kind of crazy because when you're going through the woods and whatnot, you think that somebody's there, but it's not. It's a tree
Or something.
or something. But yeah, that's pretty crazy. I think I would run. That would be pretty cool.
I have to find his name. David, you bring up the text that I sent you. That I sent to the group chat. You bring up his name. His name's Dean something. But I really start thinking about... Because there's a part in the Stan Lee documentary or episode where...
It's not a documentary, but I know what
Where it was,
Stanley
series.
Superheroes.
Yeah, Stan Lee Superheroes.
Oh.
A terrible job of explaining it. This guy's been running all day, and he says, "I'm just gonna run back to home to San Francisco." This guy ran.
Parnassus.
Yes, it's a Greek name. This guy ran 17 miles back home.
Why my thing is just like, great.
Why?
Yeah, do this, but why? Didn't Marathon die at the end of his marathon?
Well, the
Greek
interesting
mythology.
interesting thing is like, I suppose like you would say, "Oh, I'll save money," but then you'd have to eat a lot of food in
You
order
have to
to
use
maintain
so much.
So then I'm thinking, would you actually save money if you ran back home like the 17 miles or 70 miles, I don't know, or just drive and be there in like
Gas is
3?
expensive now, so I don't know.
He did this 10 years ago, I believe. So back then, maybe not. But I just think it's fascinating to be able to have that in your under your belt kind of thing. To say, oh, I'll take me forever to get there, or fuck, I'll just run. And I think, as you mentioned, you alluded to playing sports. I think absolutely, because then you just don't have a threshold, in theory.
Yeah, but people are also gonna try to like come at your neck. You know what I mean? Like they know that you don't stop, so they're just gonna be like, I'm gonna be, I'm gonna tackle, I'm gonna push,
And let them keep coming at you, but then you're going to still be the same energy level, in theory.
In theory, unless they break your knees. So let's talk. Let's break this
Angel's
down a
like, let me
little bit.
just break this guy.
Listen, man, like I've seen this stuff, in these sports and these guys. I mean, in soccer, that's another thing because they, act as if they got hit and they never got hit. And it's
Yeah, they're like little
flag,
prima
yellow
donnas.
card and all that stuff. But if you guys had a superpower, what would you want and why?
That's a great question. You want to go first?
You go first.
I actually really liked, I think about X-Men. I really liked Wolverine's one. Being able to heal fast is such a good one.
With Wolverine, you have to ask like which one. But
Which, if you want the spikes, you mean the adamantium in your body?
yeah.
I also like,
Gross.
yeah, I also like the idea of being someone like Thor that can just like control the freaking weather and then have a hammer. That's pretty badass too.
Thunder, but like not like Storm. Storm could make like hurricanes and things like that happen. Thor can just do thunder, right?
Wait, but
The
do you
god
want to
of,
be
like,
Wolverine where the adamantium made him that way?
That's
or
what
where
he said.
Actually was born that way with that.
I don't know. Can you imagine any time like someone shot or stabbed at you or hurt you and you just healed like that? Oh my god. You'd go in surgery in that afternoon, you'd be running.
Oh, maybe
Don't
it has to
even
do
need
with the surgery. Maybe it has
That's
to
what
do
I'm
with
saying
his
as well.
background of being in surgery.
I've had surgery so much. Imagine like, oh, what's recovery time? You'd be like, this afternoon. Send me in tomorrow morning. I'll be out next day or whatever it is. I don't know. I think that's a very key one that I think just because whenever I talk to people, especially as of late, they spoke about some of their injuries, and it's just unfortunately time and rest is just the best friend for healing, for injuries. David, do you think of anything? We're gonna come back to you.
What are they? You gotta talk to them.
I got two. Either flying like Superman
Hmm.
or super strength.
Stronger than you already are. You mean?
It's impossible to
Said,
say.
and I guess I only need one.
I'll do flight. I'd rather fly.
Fight. What about you, Sanchez?
I would teleport.
Oh, wait, like number 5 in the Umbrella Academy.
I don't watch the Umbrella Academy.
What?
You don't watch it?
No.
No, it's for children.
It's not for children.
No,
You guys are high.
No,
Is
because
that
I
the
was
one with the
watching-
monkey on the cover on Netflix?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, but he's barely in it.
It's for children. No, because like I started
It's
watching
not
it,
for
and then-
children.
and one of the guys, he's like a big dude. He's like, "Oh man, I'm so sad."
Because he's living on the moon. Wouldn't you be sad if you're living on the moon?
And I was like, "Come on, man."
Wait, actually, have you guys seen the girl in the picture?
The girl in the picture.
It is wild.
Is that
Called
a
the
show?
girl in the picture.
Yeah, and it's like an hour and 40 documentary.
What's it about?
So all I say is, it starts off with this woman. She's in the hospital from a hit and run. It's all suspicious. She has a son and she has a husband, right? And they think maybe the husband did it. All right. Then, 5-10 minutes in, they realize the husband is actually her father. And then it keeps going on these twists and crazy shit.
Okay.
I was like,
What about Abducted? Did you guys ever see Abducted in Plain Sight? It came out a few years ago.
Nah, but I saw what
It's
that was
that
about.
kind of crazy nifs and tones. But
Need to catch
anyway,
up.
stop hating the Umbrella Academy. You haven't watched it.
Anyway, so teleportation. So I saw it. I started watching Umbrella Academy, but I just didn't like it. I saw like 9 episodes, and people keep saying, "Oh, you gotta watch the Umbrella Academy." So I guess I'll try out another episode. But I saw
Gotta
like
catch
9,
up on
and I
Stranger
was like,
Things.
"This thing's whack."
Did you watch Stranger Things?
I did, and then it got whack. So anyway, so that's also for children. So anyway,
I've only seen the first 2 seasons.
yeah, that's what I saw. I saw the first 2 seasons, and the last season, the third season was whack.
Second
like,
season
where's
was whack,
everybody
actually. Fourth season's good, though.
Everybody's just crying. Like I don't get it. It's like the thing that I don't understand is like, all right, fine, you go to these supernatural places, you have supernatural powers, but it's like there's no common sense. Like, why is it there's no common sense whenever people are like pressed up against like whatever they got to do? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure there
You're in
are
a shock,
examples that
maybe.
I guess, but like
You just freeze
you
up.
don't
You
call
just...
for help. You don't move. You don't like see that your kid's been out and like your kid comes back messed up, and you're just like, kid, we getting out of this place. Like that that happens in real life. Like you've had friends that you grew up with, and some of them, their parents are just like, nah, this school's too crazy for you. We're just gonna move to another place, and it just happened.
Wait, I have to say this.
They weren't getting chased by like freaking rabid stranger things
Monsters.
monsters.
We maybe told you the story. I got to tell you the story. I'm not going to name them, but maybe we should. We did a TRX meeting where we had to say what superhero we'd be. and this one person says, "I'll be Batman because I'm humble." No one who is humble admits to being humble. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
He's gonna try and push on the rug, dude.
Wasn't.
I'll tell you, no one who's humble says they're humble.
All right, so I would do teleportation because
Fuck?
there's a reason behind teleportation, but teleportation because I feel like if I had any other superpower that people could actually tell was a superpower, then they would try to like do studies on you or take you and use you for like military experiments, similar to like Wolverine's story, where it's like they know and they find out, and then they're just like, you need to be caged and this done to you, that done to you, and all of your freedom goes away like that. So I would say teleportation because that way you can still get to wherever you got to go, but then also at the same time, if you got to escape, you can just escape without anybody's trying to like stop you or anything like that.
I like that teleportation.
I also like the mind stuff too. I would do like not necessarily like whatchamacallit. Telekinesis is when you can move stuff with your mind.
Yeah.
But I would probably do the other
Telepathy?
one, telepathy. Because the one thing that we can't tell right now, and doesn't matter how far. I mean, obviously people can't teleport, but we're getting closer to some things, right? Like being able to see through, like X-ray vision or whatever. There are things where science is actually pushing to be able to see. But I think telepathy would be cool because you can kind of see what intentions are. Because a lot of times, especially in the judicial system, we look at what ended up happening and who did it, but we don't really understand the intentions behind it. And not all the time are crimes or whatever things necessarily so straightforward as to this person's a bad person because they did this and this happened. But it's like if you don't understand why or you don't understand the intention behind it, like that's another thing, right? So for example, like the old story about, it's probably like an American story. This is just generalization, not a specific one. But a kid comes, finds a gun, ends up shooting his parents or shoots his grandma or grandpa or something like that. And they're trying to figure out, do you say that the kid's a bad kid because they shot him, or did the kid actually know that was going to happen? Things like that, right?
There's a story in Scandinavia. This happened like 15, 20 years ago. There was two 10-year-old kids in the UK. They found this kid in a supermarket or a small store, and he was only 2. It's really sad. Anyway, they bring him to train tracks, and he passes, and there's more detail to that story if you want to know. But the point being was something similar happened to one of the Scandinavian countries. And that kid in Scandinavia, instead of going to some kind of detention center or, confinement, they put him back into school the next day because he was so young. The theory was that that kid could still be saved and changed. Whereas in England, those 2 young boys, they were in some form of detention until they were 18, changed their names, everything. So everything changed. And it was a very interesting thought of, are they at 10 years old? Kind of what you're saying. Are they born bad? Did they make a bad decision? Is their life screwed over because they made one bad? It was a serious decision, obviously, at that young age, but one that you can still change that person when they're so young. And it was a very interesting thing at school that we discussed, and you go, oh, that's a really good, because they still screwed up, but now is their life like a write-off because of it? And that's an interesting thing we speak about, like when a kid finds a gun, like did he make a poor decision? Was the poor decision almost made for him? Like why was he in the vicinity of a gun to begin with? But
Yeah, because there was another thing that I was reading, and it was about like Hitler, who's obviously an absolute piece of shit. But they were going into the history of like how he grew up and where he grew up and what he was, and like how different it was for, like, people would assume that he had power like as a kid, but like not having that and building that, you know what I mean, like manifesting that and building that into becoming like one of the most notorious people in modern history. It just makes you think like, was that preventable at any point in time? Like, was he just like born like a bad person, or was it like an environment or whatever? I don't know. It's just like
it's interesting
wonder
though. You
about
wonder,
that stuff.
yeah.
And I'm sure there's like a whole. I think David might be able to get into that because he's going back to school, case management, and figuring stuff out about like psychology. But it just makes you wonder about what goes on in people's heads and how do they turn into these people that commit these heinous crimes.
Yeah, and
Because you could always theorize on why, but like how, and then how do you prevent that? Because preventing is like that's obviously the gold standard, right? You don't want that shit to happen anymore. So
good luck.
Well, it depends on what view the world is looking at people like that. If you look at it like you gotta because there are a couple of there are 5 modes of corrections, right? In like the criminal justice system, you have deterrence, incapacitation, incarceration, and rehab, and there's one more. I forgot what it was. And the world and the U.S. has gone through phases of detention and incarceration, right? It's like just lock these people away. We don't give a fuck about what's going on with their life. We don't care that their parents were abusing people. They don't care that there was drugs involved. Just to put them away. And then it goes into other phases where you go into more rehab stuff. So you have, rehabilitative proper modes of trying to get young adults to not do the crime that they did or see why they did it. And now we're going back to the whole thing about just lock them away. So it just depends on what's going to happen and depends on where the money is going. If there's money that's going to go to rehab programs, then great. But also, it takes time, and everybody wants something instant. Someone kills your kid, you're like, "Fuck that! I want him away."
Yeah.
And then with life, as it goes on, they're like, "Okay, well, if we want to rehab this kid, this 16-year-old kid who killed this guy because he just fucked up."
Yeah.
It's like it's gonna take years to rehab this guy. It's gonna take years of more money, and then or we just put him away for 20 years. General pop, make him worse, as time goes on. So it all depends on where the law is and what's going on.
Because we don't have. I was asking a client about this because she's a lawyer, and I asked her about what do you think about people who like commit crimes and just don't they know it was a bad thing, they know it was a bad choice, but they almost didn't intend to do it, but they always have that I don't know how to say, a tendency to get into bad situations, a tendency to try to lean towards one side versus the other.
Yeah,
and it's
you got to look at also the systematic approach of why the person has that option.
Right, but
That's the only
that's
to do it.
That's true. That's true. But and then at the same time, where do we place people like that? Because you're right. If you only have that option and that's your outlet, then that's your outlet. Right, if you see a kid who's out there, and this is going back to the preventing. If you see a kid, and then we'll wrap it up. If you see a kid who's out there burning insects, right, or burning insects, and then he starts hitting people, and then he starts doing other things. The kid hasn't committed any crime, a big crime yet, but one could assume or one could infer that that child has a tendency to lean towards violence or a tendency to lean towards I don't know. Harming things or getting
that's a lot of serial killers start is harming animals. I think if you go back to a lot of these killers, a lot of them they start harming animals when they were 10 years old or older. Yeah.
So then it's can you do something in that time? Is there a place for those people before they do something that's even bigger, right? Because you can kill a dog right now and probably get I don't know 2-3 years in jail, which is pretty fucked up. I think it should be more, but it's not my place. But then at the same time, it's
assuming someone even knows you did it as well.
Right, assuming somebody even knows that you did it, and that's your time. You get out, and then you can just do whatever else again, right? I don't know. We should think about having a place for people like that. But I think maybe using telepathy. But obviously, when people figure out you got telepathy, they're gonna try to lock you up. They're gonna try to make you do all this stuff.
How would you lock someone up though if you can, teleport from one spot to the other?
Telepathy.
Yeah, but I'm saying if you're teleporting from one spot... No, telepathy, you said, sorry? Okay, so yeah, I'm sorry, I thought you said teleport, I'm sorry. No, I know, different action, sorry, I misunderstood.
It's all good. It's superpowers.
Yeah, I know, because that's what I was just thinking about. If you were to teleport from one spot to the other, how would it lock you down?
Well, if you have that telepathy that, what's his name has, Professor X,
Professor X.
He can go into your head and then make shit happen. I think in some of the movies he's he can become invisible in reality because he'll go into your head and just change something so you can't see that person.
Jedi mind trick.
So
There's
exactly.
nothing wrong here.
Yeah. There are no Jedis here.
Hello there.
Hello. They'll look at you. They'll be like, "Hi." No, but that would be pretty cool. All right,
Wrap it up.
wrap it up.
Wrap this one up. Folks, thanks for listening. We did fall down a bit of a rabbit hole, but we're good. We're coming back to the end. Do make sure to follow us on our pages, whether it be Instagram, Spotify, or YouTube. And don't forget to throw in the trainer feed or one word for 15% off your order at Roan. We're always supporting the good stuff. Otherwise, thanks for listening, and we will see you soon.
I
Later.
Bye.